wild up in here with Tally Brinson, Abby Knight, and Ben Brown on the Tab Podcast Show.
What's going on, everybody? And we're back for another episode of the Tab Podcast with myself, Abby Knights, Tally B, and Benny B.
What's up, y'all?
It's a lot of B's. Tally's over here just throwing it up. How's everyone doing today?
Splendid.
It's a tabulous day for me.
Tabulous day, huh? You guys been out there being busy, being productive, being positive. Ben's eating. We always need to get into Ben's treats. Ben, what are you eating today?
I am eating seaweed, teriyaki seaweed.
Oh, I tear them
with
things.
a little sea salt.
I tear them things up. I love the seaweed snacks.
It's delicious.
I first tried those and I was on set. I forgot what job it was, but they had them on set. I'm like, what is this? And I ate like the whole pack in like 2 minutes.
It looks like bad paper.
Right. Like plastic, even.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's delicious.
Yeah. You gotta have good snacks on deck, man. When you find a snack that's healthy too.
And it sounds like this.
That's what Lil Wayne used, in a Millie when he said one of his lines, and he said, "I'm making it the wrapper," and then he crumpled the paper up. It was a kale snack.
I hear you, but I don't. This is delicious. What are we talking about today?
Tally, who we keeping tabs on this week?
Oh man, we are keeping tabs on Blueface and Chrisean. I know a lot of y'all have been keeping up with this whole development and the drama of their life, but it's pretty interesting, and we have some pretty good relatable topics that are coming out of it. So Abby, take it away. Let's bring the people up to speed on the Blueface and Chrisean drama.
I don't think Blueface and Chrisean know how to stay out of the headlines at this point. There's always something going on. First, she was out all over podcasts and different shows talking about ain't nobody creaming on you like me. And then she put her teeth in. He didn't like it because people were trying to get at her. So she takes tooth back out. So she's back to being toothless, which I think is weird. And then she put his face on the tooth too. So it was like, I don't know, she's got his face on her throat. Because she said, when they see me, they see you. That's why she got she's got a whole tattoo on her whole throat of his face. And then she had his picture put on her tooth that comes out as well. Yes. And so then she got pregnant with the baby. They had a lot of issues, a lot of domestic violence drama that was all over the internet that people thought was funny, but it's not. In my opinion, it's not. Apparently, they got into a fight over cell phones. He was talking to other girls. She took his phone. I guess he tried to break the door to get into the bathroom to get to her, then ended up snatching her hair, pulling out a whole handful, left her a bald spot in her head. And she's pregnant, just had a baby, claiming that I'm bringing y'all up to speed. Okay, I'm trying to give you the short version. Claiming she's already pregnant with baby number 2. Not sure how that happens a month after you just had a child, because you do need time to heal, from my understanding. I haven't had a child myself. And then he announces that he's engaged to his ex baby mama. And now she got a record deal with Columbia. And so I'm just trying to keep up, and it just looks like a big old mess. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of hot and cold off and on with him.
Honestly, I just think he's been dipping in both. What's the best way to put that, Ben?
Dipping to the left and dipping to the right.
Yeah, sure. He's been trying to have his cake and eat it too. So apparently his ex caught him, or who was that? Did Chrisean walk in on him and his ex, or did she walk in on him and Chrisean?
So while Blueface and his ex were separated, she happened to be coming over to set up for a reveal party that they were having for the baby, and she walked in on him and Chrisean having sex.
Oops.
And it was
Somebody was tooted.
yeah. He was, he did an interview and said that basically she was giving him some head and she walked in. So now he's pants down his ankles. They throwing cheeseburgers and telephones. He trying to like diffuse the situation. But I mean, how do you diffuse that?
First of all, is he diffusing with his pants down to his ankles? I'm just
Pretty
trying to
much.
figure this whole. That's an interesting.
I would have just ate the cheeseburgers.
You would have taken the seat, Ben, and had the cheeseburgers?
Yeah, eat the cheeseburgers. That's it.
Yeah, let me get into it. So Blueface told a wild story about Jaden Alexis walking in on him having sex with Chrisean Rock in a new interview on the Jason Lee Show. Now, this was October 18th. Jason Lee released the much-anticipated new interview with Blueface and his children's mother and artist, Jaden Alexis. During the sit-down, they touched on a number of topics while chronicling their relationship, including Jaden walking in on Blueface and Chrisean having sex and the fight that ensued. I know that was a royal rumble. So according to Jaden, the incident occurred one day when she went to Blueface's house to set up items for her gender reveal party for their second child, which was set to take place the following day. Blueface and Jaden were separated at the time. Okay, they were separated. Now, she came in and it was a bad time, says Blueface. I was getting my sucked. We had the mirror set up. Something was tooted up. She might have seen a booty hole on the way in. Okay. She walked in hard, Jason. Blueface continued. I'm like, hold up. I can't even protect myself. They violated me, Jason. Her mama was there, hard as hell. Jason butt naked trying to break up a fight. They in there throwing cheeseburgers and shit, telephones. I'm looking at her like, what's going on? So it was a brouhaha going on in there.
Sounds like a bit of a spectacle if you ask me, huh?
That's a debacle. Now, I know a lot of people have said that Chrisean is so toxic and look at her and this and that. But now as we start to see like the full picture, I think the toxicity is well matched. I think because Blueface is the artist who has people who love his music and they kind of tend to like, shame Chrisean a little bit more and make her seem like the more toxic one. But starting to see some equality in the toxic department, And
I will say she's quick to throw hands, though. She is quick to throw hands, and there's a lot of conversation about that too. What's a man supposed to do when a female throws hands on him? Like, do you protect yourself? Do you just let her continue to like be abusive? I think they're just both equally toxic for each other. Period. It's just a bad situation. Speaking of which,
you share with her and say, listen, if you put your hands on me, I'm going to put my hands on you. And that's worked for me because I've never had to put my hands on a woman. But I will let a woman know, as long as you keep your hands off me, we don't have any problems. And
at the end of the day, nobody should be doing that. Like, it's nobody's place to put their hands on nobody.
Yeah, but I feel like when men have a tendency, especially gentlemen, they've been told by these amazing women in their lives that you never hit a girl, no matter what. Don't hit a woman. Don't hit a woman. So they share with women, oh, I'll never hit you. I never hit you. And I think women get in a place sometimes where they put their hands on you and they know there's nothing going to come back. There's no repercussion. So whenever they feel like being frustrated, they do it just to get their frustration on you, knowing there's no repercussion. And I think there should always be a repercussion. I never had to do it, though. Mm-hmm. Before I hit a woman, I would definitely leave, but I will share that I will hit you back. So as long as you know that you'll get hit back, maybe you'll think twice about it.
Mm-hmm. So the PSA is already out there.
Once I'm done, I'm done. Yeah. But let's move on. Let's move on with this because I feel like the problem is what I was going to ask, can you cheat and not be toxic?
In my opinion, just because you cheat, it's a different type of toxicity. I think, yes, there is a world where you could not be a toxic person and cheat on your partner, but cheating in itself is toxic to a relationship. So it's like, what is your definition of toxicity? There are some
Yeah.
people who are toxic in their everyday
Life.
behavior, their everyday conversation, how they relate to one another, how they do little things to make sure they press your buttons. And then I've seen the situations where it's like you see two people, and whether it was the man or the woman, they actually do treat the other person very, very well. And then they just probably have some infidelity, and they cheated. That, like I said, that thing in itself is a toxic thing, but it's not a blanket
I get it.
of being toxic. That's how I look at it. What you think, Abby?
I just don't believe in cheating, period. So I've never actually cheated on anybody. I'd rather leave the relationship than be doing all that. Because I hate when people say, oh, it didn't just happen. You had to take clothes off. You had to spread legs. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you're being safe. Had to put a whole condom on. It takes a lot of steps before you actually get down to it. It doesn't just happen, to me, in my opinion. So I think that is a bit of a toxic trait, because it also shows that you're a dishonest person. And if you cheat and then go back and continue life per usual with your person, then that puts you in a whole different type of level. Because now not only are you a liar, but you're very deceitful. So,
Well, let me ask this. You in a relationship with a gentleman. He treats you like a queen. He treats you so well, everything that you ever asked for. But then one day he cheats on you. Would you call that person a toxic person? Or would you say that that person cheated on me?
if it's a
And that was
one-time thing,
And I'm not saying that the relationship continued. It might have ended after that. It's like, that's
it would
it.
have ended. For me, it would have ended. It would have been a done deal. Because I don't deal with that. My exes all know. We have the conversation up front. If you cheat, I'm done. But no, I mean, in that situation, no. But I still think the relationship would be done. I think the hardest part is cheating the first time when you're with somebody. Because if you know what you're losing, you're not going to, or what you're risking losing, you're not going to put yourself in that situation. Like, you're a great example of that. You're married. Me and Ben aren't married, so we can't really speak to this as well as you could. But you're not going to put yourself in a position where you might cheat on your wife. You're going to be like, nah. I got me my $1 billion lottery ticket at home, and I'm not about to risk that for nobody. So you're not going to take that chance. So I'm just saying, if you're putting yourself in that position, maybe that was a position you wanted to be in to start with anyway.
But to answer the question, though, in memory of that person, or talking about that person to future friends and things like that, as you recall relationships, would you label that person a toxic person?
No, no, not in that instance. If you're
So,
if you're a serial cheater, then it's different.
right, that's not the scenario. So that's where it would support my argument that you don't necessarily have to be a toxic person to cheat.
Now, we talking just one time with one person or repeatedly with the same person?
One time,
one and done.
with one person.
Okay, yeah, no. I wouldn't
Now,
say
how
that's
about
toxic.
multiple?
I would say that would be toxic, right? Because now you're having to lie about everything.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, some people might not lie. They just, if you know you're doing something that hurts the person that you're with, then it becomes toxic. That's toxic because you know that it does not make that person feel good. It probably most certainly puts them in a negative space. And if you continue beyond that, then I think now you tip the scale to being a toxic person. It's always a toxic act, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a toxic person.
That's an interesting way of looking at that. Speaking of which, so I guess, because they always say that toxic people are the ones that always say they need someone to be their peace, because if you're a peaceful person, there's no need to actually say that. So I have a quick video reference that I wanted us to take a look at to see what your thoughts are on what this man is saying.
I'm getting sick of men saying that. I want a woman to be my peace. No, the you don't. You want a woman that won't question you when you bring in chaos in her life, talking about be my peace. How you want her to be your peace when all you doing is bringing nightmares in her life? And every time she speaks up, you say she's disturbing your peace. Of course she is. You cheating. You ain't available. You don't validate her. When you say you want a woman to be your peace, you mean you want a woman that don't speak up for herself, that don't call you out on your bullshit. If you not doing bullshit, shit is peaceful. You don't even have to say be my peace when you are bringing peace. What peaceful ass nigga has ever had to say be my peace? The chaotic men, the disrespectful men, cheating men, the men that got fucking problems, the men that want to have their cake and eat it too, those are the men that scream, I want a woman to be my peace.
So, what are your thoughts? As men, do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree. I've never said I want a woman to be my peace, but I want a peaceful woman. Right? There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Huge difference.
And, a lot of times people look for something and claim that they're something that they're not, and complain about what they're not getting, but they're not giving it. Learn to be what you want, right? If you're what you want to be, then what you get a lot of times is that. But we go looking for and complaining about what we are in other people, but we're really just talking to ourselves. Those kind of guys are only talking to themselves. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah, I agree in the context that he's coming from. Definitely, if the man is the person, whether it's the man or the woman, they're the ones that brings the storm. Yeah, and you saying that you want somebody to be your peace, that's a manipulative setup, right? But there is a world where a man who might be just going through a chaotic life, not when it comes to, cheating and things like that. It might be referring to, what he's dealing with his family, what he's dealing with in the world, and relating to things where it comes to racism and finances and economics and things like that. And you want like you said, Ben, a peaceful woman, then it's okay to say, I want a woman who brings me peace. But where is the absence of peace coming from? Are you creating that absence of peace, or is it a product of what you're dealing with in the world? That's where the division comes in, and that's where that statement is not necessarily 100% true. It's all based on, in my opinion, the context.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I can understand that. I can see that. I still think, it's situational for sure. I've been in situations where one of my exes, he just lied all the time. And anytime I had questions to ask and I wanted to know, I'm like, the pieces don't fit the puzzle. This is not making sense. Like 1 + 1 does not equal 10. So I'm trying to figure it out. And then he'd be like, see, this is how you are. I need a woman that's going to be my peace because you're so toxic and so this. And I'm not toxic. I'm just not stupid. I'm asking you questions that you don't want to answer.
By the way, 1 + 1 does not equal 10.
It doesn't.
Just so you know.
It doesn't. It's bad math. So I was looking at him like, are you like, you must really think I'm dumb that you're sitting here lying to me day in and day out, and you think that you're going to gaslight me by telling me I'm toxic because I'm simply trying to understand your whereabouts because they don't make no damn sense. Talking about you doing security late at night and that's why you couldn't answer your phone. Boy, bye. You were not working no security at an apartment complex. That was a terrible, terrible lie. Just saying.
What graveyard shit?
Sure. In somebody's bed.
And at the Tab Show, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about everything. This is a show that we talk about everything. So it's not one topic that we talk about. It's not relationships. It's not
nothing's
sports.
off limits.
It's everything.
A little bit of everything.
So do you think that Blueface is just as toxic as Chrisean for his jumping back and forth between his ex baby mama and his current baby mama. Well, his ex, who is now he's engaged to, is if he's like saying like, all right, this is who I'm gonna be with, this is who it's gonna be, this is who I'm gonna live the rest of my life with, I'm gonna raise these kids with her. What are
There's
your thoughts on that?
there's no excuse going. The way he's going back and forth is actually disrespectful. Like, so
It is.
if he's clearly done in his baby mama's pregnancy in the middle of it, and he wants to go back to his ex, there's no coming back. Like that's just, it's not cool. Pick a side that you're gonna be on. If you're gonna flip flop, let your flip flop stay where it's gonna be. But that it's just totally disrespectful.
But my whole thing is, how is Chrisean really toxic though? He knows about her childhood. He knows about her trauma. A good man wouldn't put her in situations to continue to force her to have to face that trauma on a daily basis, to put her in a situation where she feels like everyone makes their decision, right? She's choosing to stay knowing what he's doing, because it's not just the ex-baby mama, because there's been a lot of allegations that he's been dealing with other women too. So I feel like you kind of know, because he cheated on the girl he was with, the one he's now engaged to, with Chrisean, when they were filming that show that he was doing in his house or whatever, which is how Chrisean lost her tooth. She got into a fight on the show. So this whole thing is a mess. I don't, at this point, I just think she needs to go her way. He needs to figure out who he wants to focus on, and they need to just figure out how to co-parent, because it's just a lot of back and forth.
I have a point. In what world does being with a toxic person actually fall more into your own hands more than that person being toxic to you?
Well, they do say that people treat you the way that you allow them to treat you, correct? So, technically speaking, okay, one time, shame on you, second time, shame on me type of situation. If I'm in a position where I know what kind of person you are, and this is it's happening repeatedly, then I just have to take it for what it is and decide if this is something I want to deal with or not. Clearly,
right,
she's choosing to want to continue dealing with it. She's continuously feeding into it, to where you're fighting women. You're going on the internet all the time. It's just a lot. And people, if you're in a high profile relationship, you don't need to put all your business on the IG, going live and showing your baby's private parts, which is apparently what Blueface did. There was something going on with the baby's genitals, and he literally posted that on social media. Like, it's a very different level of, I think, dysfunctionalism and toxicity just across the board.
And the baby had a hernia, and he was actually not satisfied with how long it was taking for the baby to go get treated, and he showed that to basically say, like, this is not okay, this needs to hurry up and get fixed. Now I don't know why it was the other person's responsibility more than it was his to go get the hernia treated. Hold on one second, there's a whole police unit outside of my home.
They always come by at this time. I think it's make believe. There's no pop pop in your neighborhood. I never heard of pop pop.
Right, the Krispy Kreme light must be
that.
on. If you continue to consume that thing, then you are welcoming the toxicity, because you've already established that this thing is not good for you. And
You have a toxic environment behind you. So all this toxic talk is bringing up toxic activity in your neighborhood.
they're being very toxic around here.
I think we could
People probably think I live in the straight up hood.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's hilarious.
I do not. I live in a very affluent area. But yeah, so that was my example. My example is you consume something that's toxic, you get sick, and you say at that point, am I going to continue to take this or not? Now I know with people it's different because we try to give a person a chance, allow them to change and allow them to grow, and you try to give that opportunity. But how many times do you allow a toxic situation to arise before you cut ties and move on?
It depends on where you are in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mine is very short. I don't allow it. If it enters a convo, when I realize that's who you are, and you're dealing with a lot of things that you've never dealt with and put in
Mm-hmm.
order in your life, the stage I'm at in my life, I don't have time for it. Maybe in my 30s, I could have dealt with it differently. In my
Mm-hmm.
20s, I was showing you how to hold a fork. I'm not going to show you how to hold a fork now, right? So it's where you are in your life. So this whole convo for me is something that I would remove from my environment very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of people can't remove things like this out of their lives because they're actually going through it at the same time, and they're in maybe a different form or a different way. But when you've gotten through this phase of your life, not that I don't deal with anything that's not right or something that someone shouldn't deal with. At this level though that they're dealing with, they both need a counselor, they both need therapy, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just so disrespectful.
Mm.
You
One thing that some people don't talk about is how the role of our parents, mothers and fathers, play in the toxicity of relationships because of toxic advice.
Mm-hmm.
There's been
Mm-hmm.
situations where like a mother or father has been through a situation with who they were with in the past, and they're trying to advise their children who's in a relationship that might not even really be in the same notion, but they are so affected by what happened to them that the advice that they give them is pretty toxic advice. And some people, like, they get the advice from their parent and they take that to heart, and they're like, this is my mother telling me this, I'm gonna listen to mom. This is my dad telling me this, let this woman go. And a lot of people overlook that.
It's a hard lesson to learn, because some people, just because you love your parent doesn't mean, and no disrespect in this comment, but doesn't mean that your parent is smart or
Mm-hmm.
wise. There's a lot of dumb parents out there that people love,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that in no disrespect, but it's your parent and you love them, but all parents don't give good advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
S-
always have to consider that. You have to consider where that parent is in their own life and be like, hey, they experience things at a time. Because like right now, a lot of people are more conscious, are more aware, they're more privy to and more knowledgeable about mental health and trauma and dealing demons and things like that, where back in the day that wasn't available to them, and they acted out in a way that was appropriate for the time, or that was all they knew. And they
Very
try to
much.
give advice. Yeah, they try to give advice for today's time based on old programming. They mean well, but it just does not translate to the knowledge and the upgrading that we have as a consciousness nowadays.
And a lot of them didn't. Again, a lot of them wasn't raised by good parents either. Like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it just wasn't good education.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and it got passed down. A lot of the riddles, but they weren't explaining things to you. They were really giving you riddles about life, and you know, it
Riddle me
just
that.
didn't.
And you
Huh?
try to make sense of it, and at the end of the day, it all ends up looking like a big old entanglement, like what Blueface and Chrisean got going on. And I
Yeah.
feel like Jada's in that spot. I don't know. Maybe they got some little thing in Hollywood where everybody lives in that. But for everybody listening in right now, we want to hear your thoughts on this entire conversation. I know there's a lot of different perspectives on this. You can hit us up and find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at The Biz Tab. We'd love to hear from you guys. Unfiltered thoughts are totally welcome. We'd love to start the conversation. Find us on social media. Let's keep in touch. And until next week, everybody be safe. We
Later,
out.
later.